For over a century, the Mongol Empire was the largest land empire in human history. At its peak, it controlled more than 24 million square kilometers. Its armies were unstoppable. Its leaders were feared across 3 continents. But hidden beneath the glory of Genghis Khan and his successors was a secret so dark, so deliberately buried, that it would ultimately consume the very empire it built. This is the story of what history never told you about the Mongols. It began with blood, specifically with the blood of succession. Genghis Khan was a military genius, but he made one catastrophic mistake. He never created a stable system for passing power. When he died in 1227, the empire he built began tearing itself apart from within. His sons fought. His grandsons fought harder. His great-grandsons fought to the death. Every great Mongol ruler died, leaving behind a question no one could answer peacefully. Who comes next? The answer was always war. Kublai Khan, the greatest of Genghis's grandsons, understood this problem. He watched his brothers fight brutal civil wars over the throne. He saw the empire fracture into competing khanates. The Golden Horde in the west, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, each one claiming to be the true heir of Genghis Khan, each one willing to destroy the others to prove it. The unified empire was already dead. What remained was a collection of warring dynasties, all sharing the same blood, and all willing to spill it. But the succession crisis was only the first secret. The second was far darker. The Mongols conquered everything, and they kept very little. When the Mongol armies swept through Persia, through China, through Eastern Europe, they did not build. They burned. Libraries destroyed, irrigation systems smashed, entire cities reduced to dust. The great city of Baghdad, the center of Islamic civilization for 5 centuries, was sacked in 1258. The Tigris River ran black with ink from destroyed manuscripts and red with the blood of its citizens. Historians estimate that the Mongol conquests killed 40 million people. In some regions, that represented 75% of the entire population. This was not just war. This was systematic destruction, and it left the empire ruling over ruins. You cannot build a lasting civilization on ashes. The third secret was the one that finally finished them. The Mongols were conquerors. They were not administrators. They had no experience governing settled civilizations, no bureaucracy, no legal system, no understanding of agriculture or trade or the delicate economics of empire. So they hired others to do it for them. Persian administrators in the west, Chinese bureaucrats in the east, local elites who knew how to collect taxes and maintain order, men who served the Mongols but who had no loyalty to them. And slowly, quietly, these administrators began to reclaim power. Local cultures reasserted themselves, languages returned, religions resurged. The Mongols, who had conquered everything, found themselves becoming absorbed into the very civilizations they had destroyed. In China, the Yuan dynasty, Kublai Khan's creation, lasted less than a century before being overthrown by the Ming dynasty, a purely Chinese rebellion that erased every trace of Mongol rule. In Persia, the Ilkhanate converted to Islam and within generations became indistinguishable from the Persian culture it had tried to eliminate. In Russia, the Golden Horde fragmented into smaller khanates that were eventually absorbed or destroyed by a rising power. Muscovy, the empire that would one day become Russia. The Mongols conquered the world, and then the world conquered them back. The final blow was the Black Death. In the 1340s, the bubonic plague swept westward along the Silk Road, the very trade routes the Mongols had built and protected. The Pax Mongolica, the so-called Mongol peace that had allowed merchants and diplomats to travel safely across Eurasia, had also allowed something else to travel. The deadliest disease in human history. The plague killed an estimated 75 million people across Eurasia. It devastated the Mongol Khanates, killing their armies, collapsing their economies, and breaking the last threads of unity that held the fractured empire together. The Mongol Empire did not fall in battle. It dissolved, consumed by internal warfare, administrative incompetence, cultural absorption, and ultimately, disease carried along the roads they themselves had built. 6 generations after Genghis Khan united the steppes, his empire was gone. Not conquered, not destroyed. Simply forgotten by history, absorbed by the very world it had tried to erase. And that raises a question worth thinking about today. How many great powers in our world are making the same mistakes? Destroying what they cannot control, ruling what they cannot understand, and building roads that carry their own destruction. History does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Loudly, subscribe to Forgotten Thrones. Every week, we uncover the stories history tried to bury. The past is never really gone. It's just forgotten.